Okay, great. Well, I'm excited to engage with everybody. This will be a presentation kind of talking about how we see the state of things propelling retail technology innovation forward. It'll be followed by a short poll, which I hope you'll all participate in, and then a little Q&A. So without further ado, I am going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to start diving into this conversation. So again, how COVID will propel retail innovation going forward. So firstly, for those that don't know, just quickly, my name is Melissa Gonzalez. I started the Lionesque Group a little over a decade ago, really focused on retail strategy and power of architecture. I'm also a principal of MG2, and TLG is an MG2 company. So we have a great partnership with Worldwide Architects, global architecture firm with offices across the country and Shanghai. We really believe in creating moments that drive the human connection in digital age, and our clients kind of reflect the broad point of view of all of that. So what we're going to dive in today is really, again, talking about the new norm and how it has shifted our retail purchasing behavior in several ways. We're going to touch upon contactless payments, curbside pickup logistics, openness to shop new categories online, self-care streaming, AR and VR for online shopping and live commerce, and how the generational gap of tech adoption is really starting to shrink as we look at how this adoption has been moving. So the first that we looked at is contactless payments. And, with everybody wanting to avoid touch right now and really wanting to be really careful around that, we're seeing a much wider adoption of mobile payment options such as Apple Pay, as well as contactless card readers and payment systems such as Visa Tap to Pay. We're not seeing this adoption just in one category. It's really happening across sectors. You're seeing it in food, you're seeing it in coffee, you're seeing it in apparel, you're seeing it in retailers across the board. And until now, this adoption has been about 2% in the US, and we really see that being accelerated. We've gotten stats from numerous organizations where they're seeing that really get catapulted in the last 2 weeks. We expect big investments in fintech to help power this. And, an interesting tidbit is both Apple Pay and Square are working together with the US Treasury to speed up how people are going to be getting their government payments, that $1,200 check. So that's also going to increase adoption because people are going to download those apps in order to get those payments. In March of 2020, 38% of people considering a card offer with contactless feature is now seeing table stakes, and we're seeing a significant increase of that. In March 15th to 25th, Square reported that their newly launched curbside delivery, which is mobile payment feature, has also surged threefold. Curbside pickup is another thing that we're looking at. We're seeing that curbside pickup is seeing significant adoption from Best Buy to Target. Retailers are really racing to offer customers the option of curbside pickup and contactless payment, again, going hand in hand in that. Dick's Sporting Goods is one that we bring up. The retailer implemented curbside contactless delivery on March 18th. Customers can shop online, they can select pickup in store, they drive to the store, an employee will then bring out the order for them. Same thing with DSW, they shut down their stores mid-March, and those who need to buy shoes can also pick them up curbside. You could just place an order, you select pickup, and then when you pull up, the employee will bring it to you. And they're actually also doing 20% off deals to encourage people to utilize this way of shopping. And then more recently, you saw Best Buy. They also started to shift to curbside service only for its stores on an interim basis, but customers are also able to order online, order in the app, and have the items directly shipped to their homes. So you're seeing this broad adoption of retailers starting to implement this curbside contactless delivery, and it's really increasing adoption because this is the only way people are able to pick up goods. It's heightening their comfort level to be able to acquire products this way. We also think this is going to impact the investments you're seeing in buy online and pick up in store, also known as click and collect, so depending on the retailer. But we saw that rise more than 60% as consumers have gone into lockdown in the past couple weeks. And again, this isn't just in one area. You're seeing it at Target has implemented, Michael's Arts and Crafts, Kroger Supermarket, GameStop. So really happening across the board. And again, with this happening so broadly, it's also, kind of extending the generational impact that it's having across the board. The next topic is the openness to shop new categories online. We're seeing that increase exponentially. So until now, consumers have been slow to embrace online grocery shopping, for example. However, this landscape is rapidly changing. Some stats here: Instacart experienced a 218% increase when compared to download activity in February. Walmart's standalone grocery app, Walmart Grocery, saw 160% growth in app downloads. Target is experiencing growth in its mobile app download shipped of 124%, and Target 98% as shoppers are ordering these essentials. Amazon seemingly cannot keep up with their demand, is what they've said. We don't have exact stats on that, but another retailer in there that just having to increase their workforce and their capacity to fulfill, as you're seeing more and more people wanting to stay safe and order. Also, if you look at some research from Gordon Haskett Research Advisors, they recently released a survey that found that 1/3 of shoppers had purchased food online in the past week, with a significant share of those being first time, about 41%. So again, you're starting to see this new norm really shifting people to going online and becoming more comfortable, forced to be more comfortable to be able to order different categories that they had not shopped online before. We also think that live streaming of these virtual experiences that being shopped while shopping is going to continue to grow. The number of US users watching live video on Facebook has increased since 50% since January, according to a recent stat from Bloomberg. And we don't think that that is the only platform that's seeing that type of surgence. We're seeing it on Insta stories and IGTV and TikTok. So, you know, it's been in a trend, and one of the most positive trends coming out of here, because you're really seeing brands focusing on saying, we don't just sell a product, we're here to be a service to you as well. And they're using these live platforms in order to deliver that. If we start from left to right, you see Nordstrom, they have their subscription service, and they're seeing that their customers are kind of using this time to clean out their closets and are working with stylists virtually over video chat to help. And others are asking stylists to help them rethink, what does loungewear look like on me at leisure? How do we feel comfortable working from home? Chanel has rebooted its Atelier store in New York City by launching a paid Chanel beauty chat with experts, their master artists and their beauty guides. And this is allowing for a one-to-one makeup chat that's helping people kind of feel good about how they look at home. ClassPass is bringing video streaming, allowing its fitness and wellness partners to offer live streaming classes through its app and website. And you're seeing many others in this category doing that. Women's Health Magazine, Rumble, I can raise my hand and say I've been doing twice a week. Bandier has classes, Barry's Bootcamp, Equinox, etc. And then lastly, as I talked about before, it's happening across categories. So JD.com, they launched a new live stream club experience for an once a week 3-hour sets on its e-commerce streaming platform, JD Live. They're partnering with global drinks brands like Budweiser and Remy Martin and Pernod Ricard to boost alcohol sales amid the coronavirus quarantine. And they saw that sales rose 40% on a beer brand and 70% on liquor compared to the same time last year through some of these live streaming initiatives. So you're seeing this kind of be a way that brands are making sure that they're engaging and interacting from more of a service lens to stay in relationships with their customers. And then we have the adoption of VR and AR. Augmented reality is driving sales for these brands as well, on top of engagement. Both fashion and beauty brands kind of stay at the top of that chart, as some of these brands had already been making these investments and they're now really putting them into the fold. So on e-commerce sites, viewing 3D models in AR, they've seen some significant increases in conversions from that. And some of the examples that we bring up here, we have L'Oreal. This is their Style My Hair. The app is called. It offers a live mode which allows consumers to try on different hair colors, blonde, brunette, copper, purple, and visualize what color would look like in real time. And these tech collaborations are really allowing them to stay dynamic with their customers. I can give a personal example. I actually did something like this with my mother, who is in her mid-60s. I hope she won't mind I shared that. But with Madison Reed, you know, she was showing me her gray hairs over her screen and was feeling uncomfortable with that. And I which taught her how to download her augmented reality app and find her perfect color. And she became a customer. They converted her, and that wouldn't have happened otherwise. But this adoption curve is happening faster because this is the only way that people can lean into self-care. Shopify, last week, Shopify made it easier for any brand to add AR content to their website. And Apple introduced an iPad Pro with a camera that makes it easier to place AR content in the real world. So you're seeing a lot of these technology partners being able to make this more accessible for brands as well. The new Pinterest feature allows users to virtually try on products, starting with lipstick, before they shop retailers like an Estee Lauder or Sephora, Bare Minerals, Neutrogena, etc. And to use this new feature, pinners just have to open their Pinterest smart camera and they can get to work there and trying out their new looks. So really becoming more accessible through these platforms, not only from a brand point of view, but where else there's viewership like a Pinterest where people are engaging very frequently. And you're seeing a lot of this happen, and it's happening in different ways. We're seeing it in live streaming, we're seeing it in AR, VR, we're seeing contactless payments, we're seeing curbside pickup. And the thing that I'm saying throughout this presentation is the generational gap with tech adoption will shrink, and we're already seeing signs of that. This is a graphic that was shared by First Insight, and 75% of people say that COVID-19 is impacting their shopping behavior from when we're looking at stats from February 28th to March 17th, and it's across generations from Gen Z to Millennial to Gen X to baby boomers. They're prioritizing different things. You know, you're seeing a shift to online happening, and they're focusing on things that are kind of around survival, especially on the Gen Z and baby boomer side, but the adoption is all there across the board. So it's going to really be something that brands and retailers need to think about differently. We're not going to be creating the silos that we thought about in the past. It's really going to be, how do we talk to people across demographics now? How do we integrate technology in a holistic way? People are not going to go backwards from having this this ability now to shop online and have multiple ways to complete a purchase. They're now going to want something to be even more holistic than ever. And so brands and retailers are going to have to kind of look at how they create this really connected ecosystem across their platforms so that brands can interact with them in a frictionless way when we do return back to going outside again and we do interact in the physical world. So I've shared a lot of stats and information from you. Hopefully you took lots of notes and you got some questions for me. But before we do that, I have a poll for you. We've gotten some data, but I'd love some insights from the viewership today. So Piers, do you guys want to start that poll?
There it goes. Okay. We are now having attendees beginning to fill out the poll, which is great. Wow.
Oh, I can't wait to see the answer.
I can see everybody kind of in real time, kind of adding up.
Oh, good. You're going to share the results, yes?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that's,
okay, good.
That's going to be the option.
And I thought, you know, asking these questions because this is the kind of stuff we're studying, right? What are the new categories that you're shopping online? And so grocery seems like an obvious answer that I'm sure many people are doing, but I'm curious to see if there's some others. I actually was on a podcast with the CEO of First Insight this morning, and I polled him and I said, what new category are you shopping online? And you know what he said? He said lawn. Lawn equipment and fertilizer, because he's I'm home. My lawn's gonna look perfect.
That's the big thing. It is the season for prepping. It's a little bit early up in the Northeast to like do too much, but prepping, getting everything ready is pretty good. Yeah, I can empathize there. I think we've come to an end. We have over half people voted.
Oh, great.
I'm going to end the poll and then I'm going to share results.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
I love this. Okay, great. So here's some of your answers, guys. Grocery did win. So not a lot of surprise there, but I get it. It could feel a little stressful going there, followed by pharmacy. Hair color's lower than I thought. And then people shopping all, and then people shopping none. I wonder what those people are shopping.
Yeah.
What live streaming apps are you using most? So Instagram Live, seeing its heyday. It looks like that's the highest one. I did expect TikTok to be higher, but I would admit I'm currently challenged by how to use TikTok. And then other. So I should have put Facebook in there as an answer. So
I feel our audience might have aged out from TikTok.
From TikTok, potentially. And then if you had $100, what purchases are you prioritizing? Food, Food and wellness. It's true. We
Mm,
need to stay nourished and sane.
yeah,
So I get it. But I did expect beauty to be higher. I didn't expect it to be so close to apparel.
yeah. It'd be interesting if you did this again to talk about are they ordering from local stores versus the big centralized companies?
Yeah.
Then some Q&A. Can you see the questions in the Q&A?
Oh, good. We have a good amount of questions. We have 13, so we'll see. You tell me how much time I have.
You have
Uh,
about
so
six,
I'll, I'll
7 minutes.
I'll go down the list and see how I get. So the first one, how do you think this will impact experiential design, physical store locations? So on here, I think that there's going to be a really concerted effort on how we integrate technology, right? Because there's the omni-channel experience. So I think the checkout is going to look different. I think that that mobile experience, I don't know if we're going to go quite as far as the Apple Store experience, but I do think it's going to be integrated in that whole checkout line experience. It's already starting to see a shift, right? We've been minimizing the square footage for it and we're making it a bit more efficient. So I think that's going to continue. I also think things like the dressing room might look different. I think that, you might see people bringing in apps. I don't know if you know the company FitMatch, where they scan your body and they make an avatar, and then you can virtually try on clothes that way instead of, changing each time. I think on the beauty aspect, I think AR is going to be more integrated. And I think it's going to be done in a way where there's going to be a lot of sensory reading. So you don't actually even have to touch the screen to interact. And then lastly, outside of tech, I think on experiential, people might lean into senses outside of touch to make it experiential. So maybe sound and smell. Somebody else who's anonymous said amazing presentation. So thank you. I appreciate that. Somebody, hi, how do you think the in-store environment needs to adapt to support frictionless? So I think that I gave some of those examples with contactless payment. I do think for those potentially in more suburban areas, because if you look at New York City, I don't think, Best Buy, for example, would do curbside pickup forever. It's a little difficult in super urban areas, but I do think in areas where there's a parking lot, there's going to be a little bit of a rethink of how we further integrate curbside pickup and the logistics around that. So I think that that's going to be something to be interesting that people are going to look into. And I do think BOPIS is going to see a little bit more of a concentration. So somebody asked, let's see, will the deck be shared? I think this presentation will be shared, so peers will follow up on that. I have another one. I've seen widespread reporting on grocery e-commerce being overwhelmed or delivery dates being weeks out. Any indication major retailers are investing more in the online infrastructure? I do think there's going to be a lot more investment in infrastructure across the board. I think there's going to be a rethink of supply chain. I think there's going to be a lot more investments with companies that can provide predictive analytics so that, the predictions that we've used have been a lot on historical data. And right now that data is going to be a little bit irrelevant to the new norm that we're going into. This is unprecedented time. So we don't really have anything to lean on to say, this is what, summer looked like last year. Is it going to be what summer is this year? And the same thing with fall and winter. So I think there's going to be a lot of infrastructure being relooked at and an interesting look at how partnerships are going to be assessed going forward as well. The next question, any thoughts on how leases may change with curbside pickup, with landlords starting to, where did that question go? Trying to charge for pickup areas, even if they're not within the tenant's building. That's super interesting. I feel like the person who asked this question probably could weigh in on that answer as well. I'm not sure yet what the implications are going to be. I think across the board, real estate's going to have to start getting creative. And it kind of goes hand in hand with the conversation that we've been having with how brands are utilizing space for inventory too, right? Because if you think about it, that drop ship model, a lot of brands have been thinking of their real estate assets, and it's not only about sales per square foot and capacity, right? It's that shoppable showroom, and then people using their stores as warehouses, and we can't track all those conversions that are happening, and what do we attribute to in-store and online conversions, and then also, do we charge differently per square footage for an area of a store that's kind of being used as a warehouse? Is that like industrial pricing versus retail pricing? So I feel like the parking lot conversation kind of goes through that. And it's pretty interesting because I do think curbside pickup is going to grow. So I don't think there's something that has an answer yet, but I do think it's something that could be relooked.
That's great. Probably
Yeah.
time for like one more question.
One more question. There's so many. You have to send me these questions so I can try to figure out how to answer people. So it seems like this forced isolation resulting in e-commerce spending has highlighted the need for retail brands to have consistent customer experiences, whether in-store or online. Would you agree? 100%. I mean, we're going to have to be even more cohesive as the brand and a retailer now than ever before, because you're seeing people now shop in stories more, right? I spoke to the CEO of Klarna earlier this week, and he talked about that engagement being up. They're seeing more and more purchases happening in live commerce, right? And so the fluidity of this that we're seeing right now of the online needs to continue when we go back to the offline world. So it is going to be something where technologists and brands and consultants are going to have to work really closely together to figure out how to make that a holistic approach.
What are your contact details? What's the best way? Can people DM you on LinkedIn? What's the best way to like ping you?
Sure. Yeah, we're active on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. So a company is at Lionesque Group, and my personal one is at Mel Styles. So I can quickly just throw it up on the screen for you guys. And we would love to hear from you. And if I don't get you the answer, somebody from my team will. So those are our handles, and we would love to stay in touch.